a live stream going for some time, but man, we've been so busy, with work and just life in general. It was just tough to come by. Dan, so
I
first and
figured
foremost,
everyone. I figured
happy
everyone just
birthday.
thought I. Oh yeah, it is my birthday. I
Happy birth
forgot. Yeah,
happy birthday to Dan. His birthday was yesterday, I believe.
yesterday turned
Yes,
31.
31. It's funny because we're almost in the same town. We're so close, but it feels like yet we're so far, and to
Yeah,
get an episode started, we wanted to do this for some time, but man, we've been just so busy with work, and you're just extremely busy right now with the trade. So how's everything going? What's the birthday plans?
yeah. Well, no, things are finally starting to slow down now. Weather's starting to warm up a bit. Not quite as busy at work now. Birthday plans. I don't know. Birthday plans are kind of still up in the air. I wanted to go, really want to go to the movies, mostly because I want to get some popcorn.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really to see. So my wife wants to see, well, related to our episode today. Today we're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite Marvel characters. And yeah, that's why I bring up that my wife wanted to go see that new Madam Web movie.
Oh, okay. That'd be all right.
Yeah.
At least it's something to watch.
Yeah, it's something, I guess. I
You see?
don't think any of those characters are going to be on my top 10, though.
No. Can you hear me properly?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
hear
figured
like
maybe everyone thought that we hadn't done a podcast in like a couple months because I just jumped off a bridge after the Lions lost.
a But like you said, we're here talking about our top 10 Marvel characters. But before that, I want to say rest in peace to a manga legend who passed away earlier this week, Akira Toriyama, the creator of, one of my favorite shows of all time, Dragon Ball Z. Man, what a legend he was.
Yeah, man. I mean, we kind of got to give a shout out on the show to this guy. Like, what you said is earlier in the week. This.
Yeah, I think I read up on a little bit. I think he passed away March 1st, but I guess they kept it private.
Oh
I
wow.
think they released the information yesterday or maybe a couple hours ago because I just got the news now. Um, so I'm gonna wear my hat
Tribute.
today. This is the turtle logo from Master Roshi. Anyone who trains under Master Roshi gets this embroidered on their gi, and that's where we first got introduced to Goku. Myself, when the start of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. So, thank you, Toriyama, for all the great memories that you gave us as kids, and then as adults when we grew up, we still fell in love with the show, and we love the show to the day to today. So, thank you, Toriyama.
Yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace. Holy shit, man. Our whole childhood's dying off.
Yeah, a few wrestlers passed away. Ole Anderson, Virgil.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
always, when one goes, they all start to go. It feels like, which is terrible to say, but
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully Vince
yeah.
is back.
Vince is next. But okay, Dan, we don't want to go too long, but we'll start off with our top 10 favorite Marvel characters. Now, for any of the hardcore super fans out there, obviously like Dan and I were just talking before we went live. It's so hard to explain every character's storyline because there's so many adaptations and spin-offs that it's just incredibly difficult. So we're not gonna jump into full detail on a lot of these characters. And remember, this is our favorite top 10. Everyone's top 10 is different, and there's no wrong answers to what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. The only wrong answers would be if you picked like a DC character for your Marvel list.
Yeah, that would suck. All right, man. I guess I'll go first then. You want me
Yeah,
to go
sure. If you
first?
want to take it off.
All right.
Okay.
Number 10 for me is a different pick. This is a 19 he made his introduction into the Marvel universe in 1948.
Ooh,
Um
going
he's
way back.
he's a he's appeared, I believe, in 601 issues, so 601 comics. And that is Blaine Colt and his trusty horse Steel. I don't know if you're familiar
Oh
with.
shit.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
you're
you.
going way back. You're
I
going
don't know if
cowboy
you.
comics.
Yeah, Kid Colt.
Yeah,
There was a
keep going.
time. There was a time when I was like all kids were really into Western. that Western American life. And growing up, I watched a lot of Rifleman, Gunsmoke. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those shows,
Oh, I
but
actually just getting into those now. I didn't realize that you were a big fan of those.
yeah, Rifleman, the
Oh,
Gunsmoke,
yeah.
and there was I don't remember if it was my uncle or my grandfather. I don't remember, but my dad came home with a box of stuff, and when we opened it, it had a bunch of Lucky Luke VHS tapes. So
Oh, nice.
that was an old Western cartoon. So I just started to fall into um, that genre of Western. So when I was introduced to the introduction comics from I think they were in the 70s of Kid Colt.
Yeah.
um, I just fell for it at the time. There was Gun, there was Red Dead Redemption. I was jumping into those video games, and this was perfect. So the story of Blaine Colt, basically, his father's killed by bandits, and he hunts them down and he finds them and he challenges them to a gunfight, and they're no match for his quick draw. But he's wrongly accused because it was a gentleman's agreement for the duel, and he's wrongly accused of murder, and sets him out as he's an outlaw now, and he's invading the police while still fighting crime. So it's a very cool story. Kid Colt, he's a classic Marvel character, and it's one of the ones where he actually dies in the comic series. So
Is
it's
that
kind
right,
of,
eh?
yeah, but there's various spin-offs when obviously he's alive, but very cool, man. I love the Western themes, and Kid Colt comes in at my number 10.
That's awesome. Did you ever actually have some of these comics?
Yeah, I was gonna say that for my next pick actually, but do you remember when they opened that comic book store right behind my parents' house?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that.
and that guy opened up a comic book store out of his house. It was in his garage, and for like 3 months, he had all comics for $1. So I was able to get the '70s remake reprints
Oh,
for
nice.
$1. So they're fun, great little comics for Western fans.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm actually a big Western fan. I've always wanted to get into Western comics, and I've never been sure, like, should I get into more modern ones, more old school ones? I figured the old school ones would probably be the way to go, though.
Yeah, well, I think even in 2009 and stuff, they brought him back. So I don't know if it was
Mhm.
reprints again, but Kid Colt, he's been in 601 issues, so he's been around. I think he is actually the longest Western cowboy comic series of all time.
Yeah,
So
I can see
there's
that.
fans that enjoy him for sure.
He's the only one that I know of by name, that's for sure, of
Yeah,
the Western comics. And I always remembered he'd be a fun character to switch to in the Lego Marvel games because
yeah,
it's quite a change of pace to suddenly just have a guy that just has a little pistol and
yeah. With his
a
quick draw,
cowboy.
man.
Yeah. I like that. Excellent pick for number 10.
All right, Dan. What's your number 10?
All right, my number 10. uh, my number 10, I'm sticking with a guy who also uses guns, not just guns, but also swords and various other bladed weapons.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm going with the Daywalker at number 10, Blade.
Oh, yes. I
Yeah.
had a feeling Blade was going to show up on your
Yeah,
top 10.
it's kind of like my whole like I wouldn't say the second half of my list, but the bottom two, bottom three, it was really tough. There's a lot of characters I could chose from. But Blade is definitely one of those constants that I'm like, he's definitely one of my favorite characters of all time. He's a character that obviously he doesn't date back quite as far as a lot of like of the real superstar Marvel characters, but it goes back to the 70s. Let's see, it's 1973 to be exact, where he debuted in the Tomb of Dracula, which was a popular series. I got a reprint of the issue 1 of Tomb of Dracula. It's a pretty popular series
Just
back in the
beautiful
70s.
artwork, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Gene Colan right there. Gene Colan did some great work, and it's
Yeah,
really a
like
fantastic series too.
if I remember like the origin of Blade, isn't his mom murdered by I think a vampire or something, and he gets just a little bit of the blood in him or something like that.
Yeah. Like I was just watching the movie yesterday, which is funny, you know. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't know exactly how it plays out. I've never seen the origin story in the comic, so I don't know exactly how they portrayed it in the comic. But yeah, like that's the story I'm familiar with, at least. That's the story they tell in the movie, and like people have to forget about those movies too. Like those were very significant releases when we were kids. Like the only like if it wasn't for the success of that Wesley Snipes Blade movie, like we might not have seen that first X-Men movie get the green light. And if that
Yeah,
first X-Men movie doesn't get the green light, then Spider-Man 2002 probably doesn't get a green light, right? Like he's a pretty significant character, especially back in our childhood. He really fit in really well with that that 90s style of comics, especially everything was very actiony and a lot of swordplay and stuff like that. A lot of characters like that. He fit in with all those that 90s style of badass characters, right? We were all looking for the anti-heroes.
yeah.
He was in a lot of those comics crossing over with like Venom and the Ghost Rider and all kinds of stuff, right? And one of my favorite series and one of my favorite 90s comic series ever. He's a very prominent role in the Midnight Sun series I have here. And
Mhm.
there's him with the Night Stalkers.
Just beautiful artwork, man.
Yeah, it's just so 90s comics, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
just everybody's jacked, giant ass swords, and everybody's a badass, right?
That's it.
But yeah, just a great character who he's obviously survived through the times. I always hear talk that there's gonna be a new show and a new movie, but then I don't know. Is it still coming out? Do you know?
I have no idea, but Triple H has to be in it as the
Yeah,
chaperone.
honestly, that one that everyone said, the third one everyone says sucks. I still like that one.
Yeah, no, like everyone complains about every movie. We all know Predator 2 is the best. But
but anyways, yeah, the fucking like just a character now that like I feel like is a little underrated, don't you think? Blade, like
oh yeah. Do you still, if they come out with a movie, would you like them to bring back Wesley Snipes?
well,
Or
I seen that he had basically put out in the media somewhere like it's basically him saying kind of like it's wrong to have anybody play the character but me kind of thing. I can kind of see it. But the thing is, I don't know if I look at Blade as synonymous with Wesley Snipes as more I look at Wesley Snipes synonymous with Blade. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
yeah,
there can be a Blade without Wesley Snipes. I don't think there can be Wesley Snipes without Blade though.
yeah, that's it. Well, it's funny when you talk about actors playing like characters. Like it's crazy to think like Ryan Reynolds has been like five different superheroes. Like what the fuck,
Yeah.
man?
It, it isn't just me, or is in that Blade movie, he's almost like kind of testing out the Deadpool character a little, like
Yeah, he's just
all those
everywhere.
movies, right?
I don't know why fucking Ryan Reynolds is everywhere, man. Fuck.
Oh, and that brings me to number 9 on my list, Ryan Reynolds. But yeah. So that's my number 10, Blade. Pretty
Good
easy
choice,
pick
man.
for me.
I even thought about putting Blade on mine as well.
Yeah.
But who used to remind me of Blade when I was younger? Jordan James's dad. One of the
I
fellas.
remember. I remember
He
you
looked
saying
like
that.
Blade. Just like my neighbor across the street. She reminds me of fucking Rogue when I was younger.
Oh yeah, does she have that rogue booty from the from the '90s show?
Did they take that out of the new release?
I saw that. I saw a picture on Facebook. Somebody posted that. It was like a side by side, and it was the one from the '90s, and then her in the new show, and she's just totally flat ass in the new show. I'm like
Oh,
that is wrong, yo.
they fucked it up.
I get they
All
don't
right,
want to do like the egregious butt cheek shots like they did back in the day, but come on, you can't go out of your way to just make that a flat ass.
man, Rogue is so powerful too, which is pretty cool. How she takes Miss Marvel's power, and then it's pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, actually, I don't want to get it too. I don't want to go down a wormhole. I was going to start talking about her and old X-Men comics, but then we'll be going on forever here.
Yeah, we didn't want to go 2 hours. We're already at 15 minutes, and we only said two names.
Yeah. Well,
All
we did
right.
have to explain our 2-month absence too.
Yeah, it's because we're busy, man. We're busy. It It's crazy. You never think you get that busy, but then when you start working and then you have kids and then like it just feels like you don't even have an extra half an hour of time sometimes, man. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Even when you
Like
think you do have time, you're like, okay, I'm going to do the podcast now, and then your wife's like,
something
well,
happens.
what about this? You forgot about
Yeah,
this. Oh, great.
yeah. It's funny to do the podcast. So now we think with Dan's schedule will probably be coming every Friday. So in order to do that, I have to go to work late. So like every Friday now I go into work late, right? So that's how we have to do it to get it done, right? So it is what it is.
Are Mondays any easier for you? Because I was thinking that I can free up Mondays.
I would still have to go on late either
Right.
way. Like
Okay.
it was better when I could do it after work, but then I don't know how long this other guy's fucking staying for because they fired Ian. So like,
True that.
yeah. But anyways,
We can start
back to
doing
the
midnight episodes by candlelight.
yeah. We
And
should have done that for this
I'll
episode.
whisper everything I say.
Okay, for number 9 for me, um, I love this character, and throughout my themes here for my characters, you're gonna see it. And I'm talking about Mr. Sinister. Uh,
Oh, nice.
a biologist who's obsessed with Charles Darwin's theories. It stems from the death of his son, who's born with a bunch of defects. He's one of the most evil people in the Marvel universe. He's genetically altered by Apocalypse. What gifts him with, he's telepathic, he's got telekinesis, he's got superhuman strength, he's got energy projection, he's able to shapeshift, he's able to control, his full amount of his body, and his body's also made out of metallic alloy, so he heals faster.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Sinister as a kid. Um, I remember, I believe my dad brought home. This is when I lived in Toronto. He brought home me a Marvel figure, and it was Sinister, and he just looked so cool. I love the cape. I love kind of looks like a vampire. You know, uh, I just love Sinister, man. So at
Yeah.
number 9, Mister Sinister, one of the most evil fucking characters in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I think what holds Sinister up best is like when we were kids, you watched the show, and they could basically job his ass out. He could get his
Yeah,
ass whooped, and then like a few episodes later, when they need you to take him serious and have him like as a real threat, he could still be believable. You know what I mean? Like you could have him play different tiers of villains. You know, you could have him kind of get his ass whooped in an episode, or you could have him get the better of like a bunch of superheroes over a fairly long storyline. Like,
yeah. I even think in one setting he was a Nazi as well. So
oh,
like
is that
he's
right? Yeah, I'm trying to
I
think.
think so.
What is his? Do you remember what his background is? Like, what his nationality is? Is he German?
I think so. His name is Nathaniel Essex. So I don't know,
No, he sounds
but
English or something. Then
yeah, English or something. But he's a terrible evil motherfucker, man.
yeah, I was gonna say if he's English and a Nazi, whoa, he's fucking evil. he relocated to be evil.
But again, just a badass character, man. I really love Sinister. So Sinister
Yeah,
comes in at my number 9. Obviously, like we said, there's so many spin-offs and so many different storyline paths that we're not going to go down all of them. So um, a lot of it's just going to be a brief description. So Sinister for me, man, one of the coolest characters I've ever seen as a kid, and I love Sinister, man. It's
yeah.
funny
Looking
when
forward.
we're kids, we always you know always love the good superheroes, but when we get older, we start to appreciate
The
the
bad guy.
bad and evil guys. So I've always appreciated Sinister. He's just always intrigued me by the way he looks, man. He's just a really cool character.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with him with the reboot of the X-Men animated series.
Oh yeah, they'll probably change a bunch of shit with him, man.
They'll probably give him the big ass, take it from Rose, give him the big booty.
All
Oh,
right, all right
actually,
then.
you just there.
What's your number 9?
My number 9. I'm going still within the realm of X-Men, but I'm going north of the border to
Uh oh.
I think is my favorite superhero team of all time is the Canadian superhero team of Alpha Flight, and my number 9 pick is their leader, the Guardian.
Oh, the Guardian.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So aesthetically, the Guardian is obviously designed to basically be the Canuck version of Captain America,
Yeah.
um, which is funny because I think there's already a character, Captain Canuck, that
Yeah,
I think
there's Captain Canuck.
made by a Canadian publisher, I think too. It's not made by like one of the big comic uh, makers, I don't think. But I think it might predate Guardian. Guardian debuted in Uncanny X-Men 109 in 1978.
Hmm.
Obviously, he's a creation by the guys that created a lot of the characters in the X-Men universe. John Byrne drew the artwork, and Chris Claremont wrote for the character. There's a shot of him there where you can see the whole Canadian flag and
Oh,
everything.
is that Puck, man?
Oh, Puck, yeah, is that Puck? Yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah, there's Puck there. Yeah. Puck could have made the list. The idea of a Canadian superhero that's basically a hockey puck. What a concept. I mean, it's a little offensive and stereotypical. The only thing worse would be if they had like maple syrup man.
Maple syrup. You know, because a lot of my characters are good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, they're probably X-Men guys. But when you said uh, when you said yours, for some reason, it popped in my head. You know what I really like too? Guardian. I mean, the Gladiator. The Gladiator.
Oh, Gladiator. Oh, Gladiator, like from the guy that's like the guardian of what is the Shi'ar Empire?
Yeah, that guy's
Oh
awesome
yeah,
too.
Guardian. Gladiator's a badass.
Yeah, he's fucking cool.
He's a beast too. I'll fuck your ass up.
I wonder if I'm gonna see another Canadian on your list.
Oh, I think you're going to see another Canadian. See, but I was about to be like, how many?
Yeah, that's true. That's the thing, man. How many Canadians are gonna be on Dan's list for superheroes?
Yeah,
I
but
think
Guard.
so far for our top 10, we've probably even though we've only said two each, we've had some different looks so far, so that's not bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Guardian's not a very popular character, especially like I assume be more popular with Canadian comic
Yeah,
fans. But it's definitely he's fortunate to be amongst that like really iconic run of X-Men too. Those like late 70s to really, I guess, really from the late 70s right up to the mid 90s, the X-Men was just fucking cranking out classic storylines, classic characters.
X-Men is phenomenal, man.
Yeah,
When
man.
I guarantee you when we were both looking through all the characters and reminiscing, like my list would have been all X-Men characters, but I had to be like I can't put all fucking X-Men characters on my list, man.
Dude, I know, like, I'm pretty sure, especially John Byrne, the artist for all the classic X-Men, I think he's a fairly controversial character. I think it's some political shit. I don't know. I don't look into that shit. All I care is the comics, right? But, like,
Yeah,
Claremont and Byrne, man, they're just, like, so many classic characters. Like, and obviously it's under the Marvel blanket, but, like, just to stand alone, these guys are just, like, oh my god, like X-Men, if it was just its own company, like they create so many characters, so
I
many
know.
stories. It's just, and like, yeah, when we were kids, like the 90s, it was X-Men and Spider-Man. That was the shit. Like they
Yeah,
dominated Marvel. They were the shit. Like Iron Man, Thor, those characters that all these kids grew up with Avengers, those were secondary titles. It was X-Men, it was Spider-Man.
oh yeah, the golden age of comics and silver age. You had those guys, but then those guys, X-Men, Spider-Man, really carried them into the new millennium, man.
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, I mean Guardian, yeah, like I said, was lucky to get swept up in some of that craze, X-Men craze. I think in the show they call him Vindicator because I think there was a little bit of a clash at Marvel about what to name him. I know Claremont wanted to name him Guardian, and I think Marvel was kind of like, there's already a Guardian in DC.
Yeah,
It's a really used name. They wanted to call him Vindicator. They never really liked that name. Eventually, it ended up being Guardian. But
yeah,
yeah, I think in the animated show, they call him Vindicator.
yeah. But that's okay. At least he still made the show.
Yeah, exactly. I fucking love that episode.
All right, Can I jump to number 8, or you still want to go on?
Absolutely. Jump to number 8. Yeah, I'm taking too long here.
No,
We're
you're
a half
fine.
hour in. We're on number 8.
Okay, so number 8 again stems back to that comic book store that opened up right behind my parents' house, and this is when I got introduced to this comic, and it was the Annihilation storyline. Um,
Ooh.
so with this, I first saw him on the cover, and it's funny. I actually have the comic downstairs, but I first saw the cover, and I'm like, "Wow, this looks really cool." And I think it was like 6 to 8 series. So obviously, the guy was selling everything for $1, so I got the whole series for $8. And I'm talking about Richard Rider. I don't know if you know who that is.
No. No.
I think he made his debut in 1976 in the comic called The Man Called Nova. So I'm talking about
Oh,
Nova.
Nova. Nice.
Nova. Richard Rider is a member of the intergalactic police force called the Nova Corps. As a student, sort of like Spider-Man, he's nothing, Peter Parker. He's nothing special. He's just a normal, normal guy. Goes to school. He's not. The ladies don't fuck with him. Nothing like that. And he's chosen to wield the power of Roman Day as he receives his outfit, and he becomes a Nova Centurion. He gets powers of flight, strength, healing factors. He's got speed, and he becomes also the most powerful Nova ever during the Annihilation storyline. So I've always been fascinated with Nova ever since I got that comic, and man, I love him. I think he also made an appearance in the Guardians of the Galaxy's movie.
Oh, is that right, eh?
I don't think Nova did. I think it was Roman Day that makes an appearance, but I'm not too sure because I didn't really follow those movies too well. But he is. I think he is also. Him and Drax are pretty close together.
Right, right. Yeah, it's a character I've always wanted to dive into. I guess he's not he's a fairly like newer character compared to a lot of these characters we're talking about, right? Like
Well, he came out in he was first introduced in 1976. So he's
76, right? Okay.
so he's been around for some time. Other comic series, obviously, you got the Annihilation storyline, you got the Realm of Kings, you got the origins of Richard Rider. So there's a lot of series out there that you could get into. But yeah, man, I've always just followed Nova since getting that series. It was actually the first comic series that I bought as a whole group. So man, yeah, I appreciate Nova, and I think they're probably going to come out with his own movie and storyline, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. So I think a lot of other people will be introduced to him.
Yeah, I can see that because he has a very appealing look. I mean, that's what always drew me in and what made me want to
Yeah,
check him out a little bit.
like
Is just
it, the thing with comic book heroes, they always appeal to us and our inner child, like an intergalactic space, warrior. Like we
yeah,
love that shit. You love, you know, Kazar, these people in the jungle. We like these guys with swords, guns. Um, he just fell right into that realm for me, man.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
like my
absolutely.
next character. All right,
Oh,
Dan,
yeah.
give me what the hell are you on now? What are we on? Number 7?
Number 8, number 8.
We're only on number 8?
Yeah, we're only at number 8.
Holy fuck. Yeah.
I'll try to.
For a
Hey,
comic book guide, check out some of Nova. You might enjoy that.
yeah, no, I definitely should. I definitely should. Yeah, I think that he has some crossover with Spider-Man too, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
he's been around for a little bit, man. He's done crossovers with a lot of people. I think in the next couple years you'll see him really come to the limelight when Disney or whatever starts to make his own TV show or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it does seem like it'd be inevitable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going number 8. I know, like Nova's big sci-fi character. I'm going with a character that is also has a sci-fi aspect, but blends it heavily with fantasy as well,
Ooh,
especially in the series I'm going to show you. And number 8, I have a character, Thor.
yes.
Thor growing up was definitely not one of my favorite Marvel characters. Because Thor is a guy who's kind of hard to relate to. He's a fucking
Yeah,
god.
God.
He
Yeah, it's
doesn't
a God.
speak like a regular person. Like he's a harder guy. He's a harder guy to relate to. But when I got into the stories, specifically the Walter Simonson run of Thor, I just fell in love with the storytelling, the visuals. I just love the way that they blend sci-fi
Yeah,
and fantasy together.
I like that
And
artwork because it's got the old school Thor there, eh?
yeah, oh man, it's great. I feel like this is really to me like peak comics, just because it's it doesn't take itself too seriously. It can make poke fun of at itself, but then you can take it serious at times. It's very cartoony, but very vibrant and full of action and yeah, I just it's kind of really what I associate comics with. It's just goofy storytelling, but on like really epic level, like very like Saturday morning cartoony feeling to me. That Thor run and that run alone really just made me fall in love with the character.
Yeah.
Um, just the amount of stories that are told in a short period of time. This comic run is it's unbelievable, and it's definitely one of my favorite pieces of comic book work ever. Like um, yeah, like I said, like the amount of characters he introduces, the amount of stories told, it's just unbelievable. And like, yeah, I could look at this artwork all fucking day, yo.
Yeah, gorgeous, man.
Yeah,
No,
but
Thor's a great character. Obviously, um, guys like him, Iron Man, the Hulk, Captain America, really jumped in front of the lineup of a lot of Marvel characters because of the movies and
yeah,
just the push for those guys to be, the top of the cream of the crop, right? So, no, Thor's a great pick. I like Thor as well, but he didn't make my list.
no, yeah. I mean, you call him a Marvel character. I mean, he's considered to have been created by uh, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee
Yeah,
in the '60s, but I guess the character obviously comes from Norse mythology.
yeah, yeah. But he's all under the same umbrella, so
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, for me, yeah, like I said, it's really just that one comic run alone that puts him at number 8 for me. Like you were saying, the movies and stuff. I find even in the movies, he's kind of one of the duller characters,
yeah.
and I'm not
Well,
even a big fan of those movies, to be honest.
yeah. Well, that's it, right? But yeah, no, Thor's a great pick. If anyone was making their list, I think Thor would probably be on the list.
Yeah, he's
Close,
definitely one of
close.
the more popular ones, especially in modern time. But I definitely highly suggest anybody, if you're looking to get into comics too, like if you're not already into comics, you're just looking at for a good access point to comics. The Walter Simonson run of Thor, it's incredible. It's right up there with anything I've read, and it's very doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't have too many dark tones. It's just perfect for a superhero comic book. Escape to a crazy destination and see some crazy stories too.
That's it. That's a great pick. With that comes my number seven, who is a dark character and has a dark childhood. Probably one of a lot of superheroes have a fucked up dark childhood. This guy's childhood is kind of fucked up, especially with involving, his father and Sinister and Apocalypse. And I'm talking about Nathan Summers, Cable.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
time traveling soldier, grows up having a rough life. His mother is a clone of clone Jean Grey that Sinister creates, and his father is Scott Summers, Cyclops. Early as a child, he's infected with a virus. He has telekinesis. He has weapons from the future. He can teleport. He's fucking awesome, man. All his guns, he looks cool, especially when you talk about artwork. Who doesn't look cooler than Cable in the comic artwork world, man? This was a tough one because I wanted to put Bishop here, or I wanted to put excellent character who's really fallen through the cracks, but has so many important storylines in Forge.
Oh,
Um,
Forge, great
yeah,
character.
so I love these three characters, but I chose Cable. I just again, looks is appealing to me when I'm choosing superheroes, and Cable just looks like a bad motherfucker, man.
Yeah, man. And
And
dude,
he is a
so like
bad motherfucker.
when we were talking about like Blade being the '90s character, Cable is such a '90s character.
That's why I didn't
He's
want to
got,
say nothing.
oh my god, and he's got the most distinct part that any badass '90s character needs. He has a fuck ton of ammo pouches and ammo
Yeah,
belts.
man. You know, he's got robotic arm. You know,
Yeah.
that Forge created for him. He's got plasma weapons, plasma rifles, plasma pistols, grenades, explosive knives. Uh, just a crazy, crazy motherfucker, yo. Like,
He's like a
like
cyborg version of the guy from Escape from New York.
yeah, like it's crazy because like you bring up like Blade. Like when I think about Cable, for some reason these guys all falling around for me. I think of
Yeah.
Bishop, Forge, Blade, Punisher. You just like I think of those guys in one sphere, and they're just like crazy badass characters, man. And
Yeah.
man, I love Cable. I love like you just talked about that '90s feel. Where we grew up in the '90s, and he is like you said, a definition of a '90s character, his design, his look. I wish I had a comic of him so I could show a visual, but man, Cable is cool as fuck, man. So at number 7, man, Nathan Summers, Cable.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That's a great pick. I kind of wish you would have said Forge too, because Forge is one that really people do forget about a lot.
Yeah, but he's so important.
Yeah.
He's so important. Forge is amazing, man, and very cool character.
When I
Very
was
cool.
making because I don't know if we've ever talked about it on. Oh yeah, we talked about it on the podcast for my little homemade comics. When I was making my comic for my dad, his superpowers inspired by Forge.
See, but see,
Instead
I
of
think
he can work on any car. That's
I think when they did Days of Future Past movie, they instead of Bishop going back, that's what I was kind of pissed off about that movie. Like
oh, they
Bishop
did
didn't go back.
Forge.
No, well, with in the movie they sent Wolverine back, and not Bishop.
Right, right.
Like I get it, but it
Bishop's
should have.
just kind of there, right?
Yeah, it should have been Bishop that one. You should.
Yeah,
That's what sometimes like when you watch the original series or you read the comics and then the movie comes out and then it's just like fuck.
yeah. I don't know
But
about you, but I always thought I'd always like convince myself I like Bishop more, but then I'd be like every time I'd see Cable, I'd be like, no, this guy's badass.
no, those three guys,
Yeah,
Forge, and Cable, they're fucking awesome, and they
yeah,
just look like '90s artwork, man. I
yeah,
fucking love them, man. So yeah, man, number 7, Cable. It was tough to go over Forge and Bishop, but I had to pick one. And if I'm walking in a dark alley and those three guys are walking towards me, I'm gonna be more afraid of Cable. Like if I
yeah.
see
Oh
that,
fuck yeah!
it's like, I'm
Just
gonna,
fucking eyes shining at you and
yeah,
shit.
battle tested. He's a warrior, man. So yeah, Cable at my number 7, man.
I like that pick. Can't go wrong with that.
My next pick is gonna be a shocker. I
Oh
think.
yeah. Oh
I think.
shocker, eh? Oh shocker. He's the human vibrate, the human dildo. Can you
Hey,
imagine pitching that idea? I vibrate so hard.
that's why Mary Jane left Spider-Man, man. Actually,
God.
did you recently just see Dark Side of the Ring? They just did
Contenta.
yeah, they just did fucking Earthquake and Tugboat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah,
It
I thought
wasn't
it
a,
was hilarious when they were like, "Oh, we're doing Dark Side of the Ring, John Tenta." I'm like, what can you even say bad about John Tenta? He's like known as like one of the nicest guys in wrestling ever.
yeah,
Like,
it was just the story of every wrestler.
yeah.
He made it to the top of the top, and then he made it to the bottom, and then money problems, and
And then he
but
got old and died. Yeah, that's like all of them. Yeah.
yeah. But anyways, man, you're number 7.
My number 7 is one that
Natural disasters. That's one of the you gotta admit though, that's one of the most ingenious tag team names ever, man. Like, yeah, fucking earthquake and fucking that's awesome, man.
it would have been funny if they like fucked up and like they picked the
I
wrong.
mean,
they picked the wrong natural disaster for like typhoon. Like instead of they pick a typhoon, they're like I don't even know. I can't think. I can't think of something. Heavy wind.
Heavy wind.
Tornado.
Monsoon.
Yeah, monsoon. Wow, that would work actually. Probably
Yeah, that
typhoon,
would work for you.
monsoon. Same fucking shit.
Oh man. All right, your number 7.
All right, my number 7 is one that I think you knew was coming at some point. One of my favorite villains, and one of like the big ultimate mega power villains in the Marvel universe. I'm going with Galactus.
I
And I got
remember
here.
when you bought that fucking toy, and that thing was fucking expensive.
Yeah, I got it at like Toys R Us or something for like.
Does the button still work? Does the battery still work?
Oh yeah, here I'll get him to say something. I don't have the Silver Surfer in there anymore, but
That's amazing. But see, again, when we're talking about why wasn't that in the Fantastic Four movie?
yeah, it was a cloud. Dude, that you don't even know how much that destroyed me when I was younger. You know how much obsessed with Galactus I was when I was younger. As I gotten older, I'm not as big a fan now.
Don't lie. You're obsessed with Galactus and Jessica Alba, so it was like the perfect thing for you.
They're both have about as much dimension. Galactus's personality and Jessica Alba's acting ability.
And then the movie was just terrible, man.
Yeah, it is funny that they combined two of the things that I loved most as a child and into a movie, and I still didn't like it somehow. That's really insane. Like the only thing,
Galactus is awesome, man.
Yeah, he's such a cool ultimate power character. Just the idea he comes down and he sucks the life force from your planet until it's dry and dead.
Yeah, and the thing with those, can we see the box again one more time?
Yeah,
if possible. I just want to see. This is what I love about what era did Galactus come out?
Galactus is pretty old school. Galactus would be 60s. Let's see, I have it written down here. 66 is when they wrote the original Galactus trilogy because that's Kirby and Stan Lee.
Yeah, because they're so good at the color schemes, the purples, the blues, like Galactus. Obviously Apocalypse is just a blue and stuff, but he looks cool. And then even the Sentinels, that purple, blue, it's just such a beautiful color contrast for such a badass character.
How come it never gets pulled off in sports? That's what I was wondering. That the only time it's a great, it works, like you said, it works perfect in comics all the time. How come I've only seen the Colorado Avalanche do it? Why doesn't anybody else do that color scheme? It's fucking awesome.
It is an awesome color, man. Wow.
Because you can do lighter tones, make it look kind of bright and positive looking, or you can go dark tones with the blues and the purples, and you can make it look kind of edgy and dark, right?
Yeah, I love that pick, man. That's out of those three, we'll just throw in Galactus, Apocalypse, Thanos. Who's your favorite? Is Galactus?
It's Galactus for me. And then it's funny because obviously Thanos has become the most prominent one now. Thanos would be last on my list for those three. And it's tough. It's tough for me to say Apocalypse is a better character than Thanos. I believe Thanos came first, and so it's really to me which one of those two characters came first because they're so similar, right?
Yeah. We love Apocalypse because we grew up with the '90s X-Men and if you look at my characters I've chosen, Cable, Sinister, those guys all have to deal with Apocalypse.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So he's a big factor in us growing up. But Galactus, what a cool and what a amazing looking character, man. And I remember when you went to Toys R Us and bought that figure, and it was like $200, man.
And I bought insurance. I put insurance on. The girl's like, "Do you want to put insurance on this for $15? You can insure any purchase over $200." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." My brother's like, "Did you just buy insurance for a toy?" I'm like, "Dude, if he falls one time, one of those horns could break."
But it's funny though. At that time, people don't understand. Like, we don't have it like how the states have it. Like, we don't get these toys all the time. And at
No,
the
they
time,
didn't show up in our stores.
like, you were into that really hard Marvel comics, and you were just buying those what were they, 4.5, 3-inch figures?
Yeah, 3 3/4, I think they are.
Yeah, figures, and you had to order them online. Like, you had to go on
Most of
eBay
them,
and,
or go to
like,
the city.
yeah, and you were paying high dollar for them because they just weren't coming here in time. Like, if you wanted Black Panther, you would have to wait a year or 2, and the States already had it the year prior. Like, it
Bro,
was
I spent
incredible, man.
like $200 on Black Panther. He was one of the
Yeah,
ones
see,
that were hard to get.
that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, it's same with, like, wrestling toys, all this stuff, like, and when we get it, it's priced $15 more than it is in the States. So it's like
Yeah,
fucking it's crazy. I saw some guy the other day, way off topic, but he was at Walmart in the States and he was looking at the Elite figures and they were like 23 bucks. Here they're like 35.
35. Yeah,
Man,
yeah,
it's nuts, man. But yeah, tell me a little bit more about Galactus, man.
yeah. Well, Galactus, he's on here. He's like a lot of people's favorite villains, where he's like not really. You can look at him and you can look at his perspective in different ways, right? He's not necessarily a full blown villain. Like what he does is a necessity for his life. Like it's
Yeah,
just what he's meant to do, right? It's
yeah,
just like he doesn't have evil intention. It's like this is his way of sustaining himself. This is what his instincts tell him to do. So he's really just like a being rather than like a villain himself. I think that's why people find him intriguing. Is the idea like it's not that he's merciless. It's just that everybody's suffering is beneath his realm of even thought. Like he doesn't even
yeah,
consider it. Like
yeah,
'cause you're it's just like to us, there people to him are just like bacteria to us, basically.
yeah, yeah. I like that pick, man. I knew he was coming on your list. I like that pick, man.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I think you would have probably expected him to be even higher, right?
Well, I would expect him and Apocalypse. I would expect to be higher,
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know if you have Apocalypse, so we'll wait and see.
we'll see. All right, Chris, what? Give me your number six.
Number 6 is a character that has been in 1,077 issues.
Ooh,
Um, I I've loved this character since the 90s, and this has to do with a video game, and it has nothing to do with this character being in the video game or anything to do with that. For some reason, he just reminds me of this video game. And the video game I'm talking about is on the Super Nintendo Super Smash TV. And for some reason, this character reminds you of that video game. And I'm going with the lucky, the handsome long shot.
oh,
Um,
long shot. Shit,
long
there you
shot,
go.
genetically engineered by the spineless ones. He's tasked with performing stunts and dangerous acts for the evil Mojo. And that's why it kind of reminds you of Super Smash TV because you
Yeah,
got like, I don't know, I always just loved that game. And then this guy came around, and I'm like, oh man, and he's just so lucky. Um, and he's tasked with these stunts with from Evil Mojo,
fucking
and
mojo.
he starts a rebellion, and different in other comics, he fails. Mojo, you know, stops the rebellion, wipes Longshot's brain, but he later escapes to Earth. So he joins the X-Men, the what is it? The X-Men and the X Factor. He does a bunch of cool little things, but then Mojo comes for him on Earth and wipes his brain again. So he just can't fucking win, man.
You can't get away from
But
fucking mojo.
yeah, but he also he's got his brain wiped twice. In Fall of the Mutant series, he dies trying to help Forge, but he's later brought back to life. He marries Dazzler, so he's you cannot love luck long shot, man. So yeah, long shot
Pretty
makes
good
my list.
ass in Marvel Universe Dazzler. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. So I've always just loved him since that episode in the X-Men series. And then when I got introduced to Super Smash TV, and for some reason that episode just reminded me of that video game. So yeah, Long Shot makes my list at number 6, man. A surprising pick, I think.
Yeah, I did not see that one coming.
He's
I
a
did not see that
dimensional.
one coming.
He's a dimensional rebel warrior, man.
Yeah, no. What I on paper though, it makes sense because it is right up your alley. It's very much like it's funny. I should have guessed Long Shot when you started making the comparison. Super
Yeah,
Smash TV.
and like just like Cable Man, he's got his one eye that glows. Like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
if you can see my like I told you, mine is more theme picks like Cable, Long Shot. All these guys kind of have the same artwork design,
right.
the same color schemes. I just love that, man. I just love that, man. That '90s X-Men era. Um, Man, Long Shot for me comes at number 6, and he's been in 1,077 issues, so he's been around for a little bit.
Yeah,
So I like Long Shot, man.
I hate fucking Mojo though. Fucking Mojo's so annoying.
Mojo.
Not
But do you like
Mojo Jojo though. I love Mojo Jojo.
Joe?
Huh?
Yeah, I said you better not be hating on Mojo Jojo, yo.
No, I love Mojo Jojo. That's might be my Halloween costume next year.
That'd be a good one, yo.
Yeah.
All right, man. What's your number 6?
All right, my number 6. I'm sticking with when I said Galactus last, so I'm sticking with villains again. This one I'm going with another just iconic villain from the Marvel Universe. I'm going with one of everybody's favorites, and I'm going with Magneto.
Yes.
Magneto,
Magneto.
Magneto,
Again.
even more so than Galactus, is a guy that like you can look at as not necessarily always a villain, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you can look at Magneto as like a liberator, right, for
Yeah.
mutants, and you might not always agree with his methods, but sometimes he can be right. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like the what is it like?
Sometimes desperate times comes for desperate measures, and
Absolutely,
that's Magneto.
it's kind of like him and Xavier. It's like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like they're both good guys. They just have different
A
methods, right?
method.
Um,
There's always a method to the madness, right?
Yeah,
So
and obviously Magneto just a terrible childhood and upbringing and stuff. You know, he saw his family killed in the
oh yeah.
Holocaust. He grew up
Yeah.
in the ghettos of Warsaw. Uh, Magneto also a guy who really, like a lot of characters in X-Men, like Xavier, just couldn't keep his dick in his pants. This guy has kids all over the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I think most people know about was it Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are his kids, but
Yeah.
I think when I Googled it, he's got something like 15, 20 kids in the Marvel
Yeah.
universe.
He's
Him
been
and
sleeping with
Xavier.
everybody.
Him and Xavier, yeah, they just couldn't keep their dicks themselves, those two.
Hey man, when you got power, yo. With
Yeah, I
great
guess
power
so.
comes great responsibility.
Oh God, yeah. If I he could, he's like a magnet for pussy, not metal, eh?
Oh god. With that saying, I gotta change my number 5 pick to someone with some fucking sense, yo. My number 5, Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben,
Magneto.
that's your number 5.
No.
I thought, dude, I was thinking, I'm like, is there any like non superhero, non villain characters that make my list? I was like strongly considered. I'm like, does Jay Jonah make my list?
Yeah, good.
I'm like, there's a lot of great like non-hero, non-villain characters. I thought about Karen Page from Daredevil.
Yeah, that's a good one.
She's awesome. Like she becomes a crackhead. She sells out his identity and shit for drugs.
So Magneto, what draws you to Magneto? Because again, with me, it's the design. Like any superhero to me with a cape, I'm interested for some reason. Um, it's true though. Like the cape, the helmet, he just
Yo,
looks
the helmet for
awesome.
sure is such
Yeah,
a badass aesthetic.
And again, he has some purple in his outfit as well, right?
And that, yeah, very similar. It's very similar color scheme, especially traditionally. But
Yeah,
for me, Magneto, the one that what attracts me is his character and his story.
yeah,
Um, I find
very
myself
dark.
cheering for him more often than I find myself cheering for the X-Men when he's involved in the
Yeah,
storyline. It's like,
very
yeah,
dark, very dark.
yeah, but relatable too. Like you could
Yeah,
understand why a guy who's been through the things he's been through and is in the situation is lives in this world that he lives in feels the way he does. Like
yeah.
it almost seems like Xavier is almost the one in denial sometimes. Like
He is though. He is
they kind of
hundred
is,
percent.
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. I like
and
that pick, man.
yeah, that's the other thing too. Isn't Magneto really right? Like mutants really are clearly are evolutionarily better than humans. So like
Yeah, yes,
he
it's
kind of
true.
is right. Like
Ah, fine.
there's not
That's a
much
good pick.
argument for something being superior when it's the exact same, but then add superpowers.
Yeah, it's true though. It's
Yeah.
true, man. It's true. Who Juggernaut's Xavier's brother? Or
Yeah.
yeah, because Magneto wears the helmet, so Xavier can't fucking read his get into his mind, right?
Yeah, and same with Juggernaut too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say on the Great Magneto, man?
Nothing specific. I mean, we could talk about Magneto forever. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, that's the thing too. Is I've never seen like a bad depiction of Magneto yet. Every time I've seen him in a movie, a TV series, at least somebody does at least a good job of it.
Yeah, he's always been relatively pretty good in the original X-Men movies aren't the best, but they do all right.
Well, I think they've aged worse. I mean, I think for their time they were. I think they were
Yeah,
excellent for their time. They just don't
yeah,
age quite as well as some stuff.
fair enough. So you want me to jump to number five, or you want to keep talking
Okay.
about the Great Magneto?
I don't know. Did you just hear that though?
No, I did part.
Maybe.
Is that your number five?
Yes. Yes. My
The
ass.
fart.
Yeah. Was my number five.
The cheeks.
Yeah, that was actually me saying Mojo with my ass.
You hate Mojo.
I fucking hate Mojo. I do.
All right, my number five is a character that got introduced in 1979. He's been in 1,570 issues. Um, and he's not related to Dusty Rhodes. He's not related to Cody Rhodes. He's not related to Dustin Rhodes. And I'm talking about James Rhodes, War Machine.
Oh, War Machine. That's a good
Born
pick.
in Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Woo! Shout out to Kurt Angle. He meets Tony Stark while flying combat missions in Vietnam, which is pretty sweet, right down your alley for sure.
Yeah.
He later becomes Tony Stark's private, pilot. And on occasions, he fills the shoes of Iron Man when Tony Stark relapses into alcohol. And he also wears the variable threat response suit, which is the War Machine suit.
Yeah.
So very cool. Again, graphics,
Oof.
uh, is
Second to none.
unbelievable,
Second to
unbelievable. We're
none.
talking when you see War Machine, the original, we're talking about twin barrel cannons. You know, wrist mount flamethrowers, Gatling guns, rocket launchers. He can lift over 200 tons. Like just unbelievable. I always loved War Machine more than Iron Man. I just thought he looked
Fuck
cooler.
yeah.
And at the fact that he's also a colored superhero. um Gotta love it, man, gotta love it. He's been in the West Coast Avengers, he's been in Time Wars, the initiatives, Iron Patriot, so he's been around in quite a bit of series. um Very, very, very cool character, man. So number five for me, War Machine.
Yeah, War Machine's fucking badass, man. Like he's basically like the symbiote equivalent of Iron Man. Like
Yeah,
just the aesthetic of a black Iron Man suit
yeah.
is fucking sick.
But like when you first see him, like especially us growing up in the 90s, this
Oh,
guy has a Gatling gun here. He's got a
yeah.
rocket on. He's basically a transformer. Like
Yeah.
basically what he looks like is a transformer. and then you see him right beside Iron Man. You're like, man, War Machine even has a cooler name. He
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
more
pretty cool
badass.
name. He's
Oh
bigger,
man,
he's
yeah,
bulkier.
yeah. War Machine is fucking awesome, man. So
Uh,
yeah, number five for me, man. War Machine.
oh, that's a great pick. Was it your first exposure? My first exposure was the Spider-Man show for War Machine. But
The Spider-Man show, and then I fell in love with him from Marvel vs. Capcom.
oh, right. I forgot he's in that. Yeah,
Yeah, so War
that's a
Machine
great
for me,
pick.
man. Love
That's a
War
great pick.
Machine.
That's number five.
Yeah, like I never really watched more of the Avengers movies later on. Did they fuck up War Machine in those?
They killed him, I think.
No, I mean like his character development and stuff. Was it good or not? Because I never
Oh, I
paid
don't
attention.
know. I think.
I never.
Oh, wait, no, they killed him because he's a Skrull. I think.
Oh,
I think that was the big swerve in their last movie. They you found out that he's been a Skrull ever since like maybe before the movies or something like that. I don't know. But do you remember they changed him? Remember in Iron Man 1, he's
yeah, he was. What's that actor's name?
yeah, like I like that guy too.
Yeah, the guy from Hustle and Flow. What's that guy's
Yeah,
name?
yeah. Fuck, was Terran? Is it Terran?
Then they changed him to like Don Cheeto or something,
Don
right?
Cheadle, yeah. Don Cheadle, I don't know. Don Cheadle's
He does,
just not.
he
He
doesn't.
doesn't. He's just
He,
not as cool.
no, he doesn't fit a superhero.
Is it Terrence Howard? Is that guy's name? Terrence Howard, right?
Yeah, maybe. I know who you're talking about, but
Yeah.
even him as a superhero is kind of weird. Like more like when I envision War Machine, I envision like a big guy. Like
Yeah,
I
like
don't
a
know.
military guy, right? Like stone
Yeah,
jawed,
yeah, like the guy
crew
that played
cut.
Luke Cage, like something like I don't
Yeah.
know, some bigger, muscular kind of guy. But yeah, whatever.
Like the black guy on the black soldier on trial in A Few Good Men. That's what he should look like.
Yeah, there you go.
Like I like look like Alistair Overeem.
Oh God. Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh, yo. All right, then. Give me your number five, I think.
Number five, I'm gonna go. My third villain in a row. My last villain on my list. Uh, Probably the kind of like the king of the Marvel villains. I'm going with the man who debuted in Fantastic Four in 1962, the creation of
Uh,
Jack
Doc,
Kirby and Stan Lee, Dr.
Dr.
Victor Von
Doom.
Doom.
One of the, again, one of the coolest looking villains. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Like, they do such a great job. Guys like him, Sinister, like they just look cool and
yeah.
menacing. And you want to hate them, but then they just look so badass. And it as kids, it just draws us into that.
Yeah,
You
Doom
know,
just got that classic, like very classic villain suit in a way, like cape, tunic. But yeah, you add in like the armor, the mask, the hood. It's just the whole package comes together, just like so bad. You know, a lot of the characters we talked about are like their aesthetics are a little bit newer. Like a lot of '90s characters we talked
yeah,
about. You know, they had cooled down a lot better by the
yeah.
'90s. You know what I mean? Like the fact that like they were able to make such a badass looking character back in the '60s and it's aged that well, like
Oh,
so sweet, man.
he again. They fucked him up in the movie.
Oh my god, did they ever?
Oh God.
And the problem
Yeah,
is too, it's like it should be easy to do Doom. He's already it's already there for you. He's
yeah.
such a good character. Like
It's just
it
like
shouldn't be that hard to do.
it's just like off topic again. It reminds me of like when they make a Street Fighter movie. How do you always fuck up M Bison?
I
Like,
know.
it's like why do you get these little sliding like fuck? You
The
can't
Adams
fuck up
Family
everything.
guy.
I can't do it, man. Why you I can fuck up everything, man. Fuck.
It was like and it's like Fantastic Four, right? When they did the Doom in that one with Jessica Alba. It was like the guy didn't have an accent. You know, he didn't
Yeah.
try to do an accent. They're not even trying to do like the Latveria thing. Like
Oh God.
he's
Just
yeah.
but one of the coolest looking villains of all time. No,
Yeah, and
hands
you know,
down.
I got that. I wish I had it with me. Oh God, I don't remember. Were you still in high school when you guys got me that, or is it just after high school?
It was when we were working, so it was just out of high school, and we went to the comic book store, and we saw a Doctor Doom bust, and it was you could wear the helmet and everything, a very
Yeah, it's a
cool piece.
replica mask, like leather
Yeah,
strap
so
metal.
we all pitched in our money and bought it for you for Christmas. The
Yeah.
reaction was pretty sweet when you had it, but yeah, that's a very cool piece, man.
Yeah, now that I'm getting settled into the man cave, I'm gonna get myself a nice wall-mounted shelf
Yeah,
and on the wall. Oh, it's beautiful. It's got a nice bust. It's got Dr. Doom plate on the bottom of it. Oh, it's
it's
beautiful.
beautiful. It's a beautiful piece for sure. Because our birthdays are both in March, we'll get together on screen for maybe a birthday gift exchange or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be
Would
good.
be something.
I still have some gifts for you from some late Secret Santa gifts. I gotta
Yeah,
find them though. I moved and I'm like, fuck, where are these things?
you didn't have to buy me anything else, man.
They're nice though. They're podcast related, I feel like.
Oh, interesting. So, anything else you want to say about Doctor Doom, man?
Uh Yeah, no, not much other than, he's just, yeah, like I said, one of those classic characters. And it's like, it really speaks to how well written and how dynamic the character is. That, he doesn't really have any superpower. He's just a genius, and he's a master of many, many things, whether it's like science or fucking sorcery, right? And,
Yeah,
they've been able to use that character. He's gone down a million different paths. He's had, like I showed you this one, like he has Mephisto's powers. He's
yeah,
had the powers of all kinds of different characters. He's taken his genius intellect and no superpowers, and he's borderline almost conquered the entire Marvel universe with it.
yeah. Amazing character, man. I like
Yeah,
that. Doctor Doom was also gonna make my list too. But
nice.
I don't really know too much about his backstory. It's more again the visual appeal. When I look at like if I'm even now or when I was a kid, if they showed me a list of Marvel villains, like I would probably be like, oh, that guy looks awesome.
Right,
And
right.
like it's awesome, man. So Dan, you want me to go to number what the hell are we on now?
Number
Five.
4.
Number four. Oh, we're getting there.
We're getting
You
there.
want me,
Yeah, we
you
might
want me
not
to jump to
actually.
number four?
Yeah, go for number 4. We might not actually be 2 hours after all.
So number four is a guy I'm not really gonna say over too much. Very overexposed in the last, 2 decades on the Hollywood screen. Um, I, I'm
Oh,
talking. So I guess we'll both just talk about him then.
yeah,
So
might as
yeah, so
well.
yeah, Logan, Wolverine. What a great character. Another guy, just like Magneto, who's been through the ringer.
Yeah,
This guy's been in World War I, World War II. He travels to Japan. He comes back. He goes back to Japan. So many great storylines with Wolverine. Um,
yeah.
and
His
the one thing
origins
I
of
like,
Weapon X.
the one thing I like about Wolverine is he always has a love interest somewhere. So it's not just you're seeing this burly, badass guy with razor sharp, claws as his weapons, but you're seeing a personal side, and he's always got some inner demons in him that he's
Yeah,
fighting. So
yeah,
like
absolutely.
Wolverine's a very tested character in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I actually just finished. You mentioned the Japanese story. I just finished. I
Yeah,
picked this up. It was the Claremont Frank Miller run, obviously, where he goes to Japan, fights ninjas, and yeah, you were talking about his love interest. That's what the Japanese story is love interest in Japan. What's her name? Fuck, I can't really remember.
I can't
But I
remember
always
because
kind of,
there's
I
two,
always
isn't
thought
there?
that was his. What's that?
Isn't there two? Because the first time he goes there, and then he goes back afterwards as well. I think,
Oh,
but
I
I
only ever remember the first one. What the fuck is her name? I
but
gotta look it up.
I might be wrong. I'm not a comic book like I'm not jumping into that, but like
'Cause he gets
I think
married. The one he marries in
yeah,
Japan.
he marries one, and did she get murdered? I can't remember.
I'm sure eventually, yeah. Not the end of this, but
Yeah,
but I
but
really
yeah,
figured like this is it. This is like it like Wolverine has a really unhealthy relationships, and
yeah,
like I always thought the one in Japan was his like least unhealthy relationship. I always thought like Jesus Christ, this guy's infatuation, borderline relationship with Jean Grey is so unhealthy.
Yeah, I know.
Like, imagine being in love with someone in your workplace like that who's married to your basically your supervisor,
Yeah,
Cyclops. Like,
and you can't get over it, man.
yeah,
But it's relatable though. Like
yeah, it's true.
like you can relate to Wolverine in certain ways. Like this guy's been through everything. You know what I mean? And
And he's
you know,
and another Canadian too.
yeah, another Canadian. The Canadians are making a run in fucking Marvel, man.
Yeah, we got a couple on the list right here between Guardian and Wolverine.
Yeah, and like also again, 90s appeal to us. Obviously, Wolverine came out way before then, but for us, when we were growing up, we saw that 90s Wolverine and
Yeah.
the yellow, the blacks, like he just looks badass, you know what I mean? And then when he went from what was that? Also, I think in the earlier days, wasn't he orange and black?
Yeah, orange and brown kind of.
Yeah, or something like so. Either always he just looks badass, man. And Sabretooth is badass too. So like it's very I think everyone loves Wolverine.
Yeah, he's such like an iconic character. It's weird to think about it. Like I was watching an interview with Kevin Smith. He's talking about in Mallrats when they reference because Jay references Wolverine going into berserker mode in
Yeah,
Mallrats, and the fact that they had to like explain what that is and what that means. It's just
yeah.
weird to think at a time where Wolverine wasn't such a prominent part of pop culture.
Yeah, he's everywhere now. Anything else we want to say about the Great Wolverine? I think everyone loves
Yeah, I
Wolverine.
mean,
So I think our next couple picks will be on probably most people's list.
yeah,
I would think.
I think a couple of mine maybe. I'm like one of mine for sure, maybe another one of mine, but yeah.
You got a different choice coming up?
My number three. You want to go for number three? Or you want me to go?
It doesn't matter to me. Whatever. You can go for it if you want.
Yeah,
So
I'll go.
Wolverine came at our number four. We're not gonna jump in depth in Wolverine. I think everyone this Wolverine's storylines are from here to there to there to there. Like it's
Yeah,
everywhere. You can't follow which one, but yeah,
yeah. If I
Wolverine
was going to
was
suggest anything for anybody, if you want standalone Wolverine, that Claremont Miller book is really good. Also, the Weapon X story,
yeah.
really good.
All right. You're number three, right?
Yeah, my number three. I'm going with probably the first Marvel character I ever got into. It was hard for me not to put him as number one. If I was going across my whole lifespan, this is definitely the character I've enjoyed the most and for the longest. But not like the character I read most now, not the character I'm into the most now. But as a child, there was only one superhero for me, and that was Spider-Man.
And that is my number three as well.
That's
So
your
we're
number
talking about
three
that.
too.
That's my
Nice,
number three as
nice.
well.
He's working out
So,
nicely then.
like you just said, though, Spot. I don't know if this is gonna rub people out, but Spider-Man, and I'm bringing a DC character in Batman. I think growing up as a
Oh,
kid, oh,
oh,
I think growing up as a kid all the time, Batman and Spider-Man is your starter superhero favorites.
absolutely, absolutely.
And we're talking about Spider-Man making his debut in 1962. He's been in 17,230 issues.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
So Spider-Man's been around, obviously, the origins of Spider-Man is self-explanatory. He's bitten by a radioactive spider, right? And he gets
On the wiener.
yeah.
They
Okay,
cut
on the
that
weird.
panel out, I think, when they printed
Yeah,
it. But
they took
that's
that
where he
out.
bites him.
Yeah, but when he first got his powers, he really used it for personal gain to make some money.
Yeah, he
Until
wrestles Crusher
until
Hogan.
yeah, until Uncle Ben
Later,
gets killed, which
yeah,
is which he could have stopped the robber.
yeah.
And prevented all that. But like Uncle Ben told him before, with great power comes great responsibility. And then, if Magneto knew that, he wouldn't have 40 kids. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh God,
but
it's true.
we're talking about Spider-Man, we can like again, there is so many variations of Spider-Man. You can't cover everything. It's impossible, but we're
Yeah,
talking about him. Gwen Stacy, the Mary Jane from high school to college, from Chameleon, the Vulture, the Dr. Ock to Electro, Shocker, Mysterio, Sandman, Rhino, Venom, Carnage, to the death of Harry, to the Clone Saga, to the Secret Wars, to the Avenger, to the Civil
Yeah,
War, and to the Dark Reign. Spider-Man is everywhere, and we're always on board for the adventure. Obviously, our childhood favorite superhero.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing that Spider-Man, like, you're starting naming off the villains. That's what really him and Batman, right? We talked to him and Batman.
Yeah.
That's what really stands them out, I think, amongst their peers is that rogues gallery. Like Spider-Man has a bigger gallery of villains than anybody else in the Marvel universe,
and
maybe
part
maybe combined.
and arguably the most recognized villains.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
like even my kids are 2, 2.5, and they love Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Like they
oh,
have
absolutely.
Spider-Man toys, they have Spider-Man gear, and they don't even know who he is. It's just he appeals to everybody.
Yeah.
Again, it's that childhood superhero, like
Well, that's
Spider-Man.
what Stan Lee always said. Like the idea is like I put the mask over him, and anybody can be Spider Man, right?
Yeah, well, that's
Doesn't
it. I
matter
hope
what color you are. Or
I'm hoping with the video keep cutting in and out, it doesn't fuck up our stream, but hopefully it doesn't.
yeah, hopefully not. It looks like it restarted the stream.
Yeah, but we've done that before when we've gone over an hour, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so Spider-Man, very appealing to any age.
Yeah, and just the like it's gone through so many different phases, so many great uh so many great writers have come through there, great artists, obviously the original run with Ditko and Stan Lee, but John Romita Sr. and Jr. both done incredible work on Spider-Man. Todd McFarlane got famous off Spider-Man.
Yep.
Um, it's just they've had a lot of great runs there, and my favorite is probably that original. I love this original Lee and Ditko run with the nerdy,
Yeah.
frail Spider-Man, Peter Parker and stuff. And
That's what I'm talking about. There's so many startups, there's so many variations, there's so many spin-offs that it's so hard to just like one. So we love them all.
yeah, I really love the Todd McFarlane era where they started drawing like Mary Jane hot as fuck, big booty and fucking
Yeah.
legs for days.
Can't do that now.
No, probably not. I don't even know it. I don't even know if what Mary Jane does now in the. Oh, actually, that's a lie. Some recent runs of Spider Man. I'm pretty sure he like Mary Jane is like remarried and has a child with somebody else or something like that.
Probably. But see, that's what makes, like you said, Spider-Man relatable to a lot of people because not that he has superpowers, whatever, but the initial early days before he was Spider-Man, he was just Peter Parker, right? Like,
Yeah, it's the real life problems that attract people to Spider Man.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
the
real life
simple
trauma.
stories, man. Sometimes it's the simple stories that bring you in, and then you know,
You ever
Spider-Man is just
hear the one where Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, kidnaps Gwen Stacy and impregnates her?
yeah. That's a what's that storyline called though?
Fuck, I
Uh,
don't remember. I just remember that.
that's
Jesus
fucked up, eh?
Christ. Yeah, it was very fucked up.
All right, so number three. It's funny we had the same four and three. So
Yeah, I
I don't,
think our two and one are gonna be different, but
yeah, I don't think we're gonna have the same ones next. But I guess I'll go for number two then.
number
Um,
two.
Number two again, a '90s character that was just so appealing to me. Played with him in Marvel vs. Capcom. He was always on my team.
Oh,
Just
I
his
think I
out,
know.
yeah, just his outfit, just his look. He's been in 11,199 issues, and I'm talking about Scott Summers, Cyclops.
Oh shit,
Uh,
Cyclops. That wasn't who I was gonna guess.
oh no, yeah, Cyclops, born in Alaska. Scott Summers, man, he also had a pretty, you know, pretty,
Yeah,
not rough upbringing, but it's rougher than most.
yeah,
Parents are both killed, in a plane crash. That's where he uses his first optic blast, which gives him a little bit of brain damage. At age 15, He runs away from an orphanage, and he's found by Jack Winter, also a very evil son of a bitch. But later on, he's found by Xavier and becomes the very first X-Man.
Yeah.
He learns to harness his power after receiving his ruby quartz battle glasses, well, battle visors from Xavier, and he's chosen to lead the X-Men, and he's also chosen to carry on Xavier's legacy. Cyclops, what a badass character, man.
Yeah, really just the perfect like leader character for the X-Men. He always does his job perfect, right?
And
Xavier or
the one
Cyclops.
thing with Cyclops I like is he'll make the tough decisions even if he doesn't want to. Like
Yeah.
that's what a leader does sometimes. Obviously he's got the love interest in Jean Grey. When she turns into the Phoenix, obviously whatever. But such a great character. I think the movies really did him wrong when we were younger, but we didn't
Yeah,
realize that because they pushed Wolverine to be the guy, right?
exactly. The guy,
But
yeah.
I don't think people realize how badass Cyclops really is, man. Cyclops is a bad boy, man. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Cyclops is the quarterback of the X-Men. Like he's the guy.
yeah,
Like
yeah. And I've always been a fan of Cyclops. I love his original '90s outfit. I love the blue with the yellow. Yeah, obviously his ruby quartz battle visor. How can you not love Cyclops, man? So Cyclops for sure at my number two, man.
yeah, I've seen rumors connecting Henry Cavill to playing Cyclops in the Marvel universe. I'm like, I wouldn't mind seeing that because the guy played Superman. That's what I want to see. I want to see
That
90s
would be pretty good.
Jack fucking Cyclops.
I want to see him in that blue spandex with some yellow, man. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, and he's gotta be towering over Wolverine. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? He's gotta be big and jacked.
yeah. They gotta, they
Wolverine's
gotta,
a little dude.
they gotta put some respect on Cyclops' name, man.
Yeah, he's not the nerdy leader. Like he might
No,
be a little like corny, but he's a badass still.
yeah. So Cyclops is my number two, buddy. What is your number two?
My number two
I,
is a
I,
character.
I know, I know.
You know one
I
of
want to.
them.
I know one of them. I know one,
Yeah.
and I know you know my number one.
Yeah. I don't think you have. I think this is the one you don't know because this is
Okay.
one I've gotten. This is a character that like I would have thought looked at as more of a secondary character, I guess, as a kid growing up. It wasn't a character that like he was featured in the television shows and the cartoons as a kid, but he didn't have his own. Um, but as I got older, got into the comics, I really appreciated a lot of the comic book work by this character, and it's my number two is the Man Without Fear, Daredevil.
Oh, I know. I knew you were gonna have Daredevil because you were talking about him a few months ago.
Yeah, no, I mean the show that came out like in the last 10 years, the first half of that show is really good. I really enjoyed that, but it wasn't really until I got into these two, the Frank Miller comics, especially Born Again, but also Man Without Fear, just two of the best runs by any like maybe the two, like if I had to say like unbiasedly, these might be, especially this one might be the best Marvel comic book run ever. Like it's just not very Marvel-y, like Daredevil's very much like the Batman of
Yeah,
Marvel. It's very
yeah.
a
The
lot
darker city,
darker in
darker city.
tone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, like we were talking about Karen Page earlier, this is the story where she sells his identity for drugs. Like it's just a darker tale and a grittier story. And that's what Frank Miller does best. And that's why Daredevil is just such a great story. And obviously a lot of comparisons with Batman, both Frank Miller, both the
Yeah,
grittier stories.
yeah,
Um, yeah, just a very unique superpower too. The idea that his superpower is based around a flaw as well. He's
yeah.
blinded by this radioactive fucking ooze or whatever that gets on him as a kid. But it
Is it the
also,
news from Ninja Turtles?
yeah, basically, it basically is. Let's be honest. It's toxic sludge that falls out of a truck. It's basically the same shit
Yeah.
he could have been a Ninja Turtle, but instead he's a blind guy with the rest of his senses heightened. Um, but yeah, just a character who has some great villains that he fights and great
Yeah,
characters he interacts with. Kingpin, Bullseye,
yeah,
Elektra, the Hands, um, Stick, another great
yeah,
character, trains him. Um, but like Daredevil doesn't even need a great rogues gallery because the character himself has so much dynamic
yeah,
and yeah, and you really see like in this movie, Frank Miller establishes the Catholicism around Daredevil and the personal struggles within the man, and that's where
yeah.
really what you see the character like broken down and build himself back up, broken down, build himself back up a million times, and I think that's why people really get attached to him and read the stories year in and year out, and
Yeah,
there
very similar to Wolverine's kind of, broken down inside, build himself up, broken
exactly,
down.
yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool. Very cool. I thought you were gonna have. I know you're for your number one, so I'm not gonna say it. But I thought instead of Daredevil, you probably have Apocalypse. But I guess because you picked Galactus over Apocalypse, and then I thought you picked
yeah.
Blade. I thought you picked Blade over Daredevil.
Right, right. Galactus. I mean, Apocalypse was tough to leave off, to be honest. The reason I left him off was mostly because I mostly just enjoy him from the game and the show. I haven't really read much
Yeah,
Apocalypse.
absolutely. But another great thing about Daredevil, about the thing where he's blind and everything, it stems off to other forms of media. Mortal Kombat, Kenshin is strongly based off of Daredevil, right? Like it's
Right.
like he's a blind, swordsman. So like, very, very, very cool pick. I never really got into Daredevil to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think what attracts me too to Daredevil is you can, all these Marvel stories they're all most of them are in New York, right? And
Yeah,
I always just like love Daredevil because you could tell Frank Miller was a New Yorker when you're reading it because like it really does get the vibe that you get more personality of the city. The city's grittier, darker. They do a good job like Hell's Kitchen in
yeah.
the comics. It feels dark. It
Yes.
feels like a good
It's too
setting.
dark.
Like
It's just like it's like that setting of the Dark Knight. Like
yeah, it's
it's
like
a dark
Gotham City and Dark Knight,
Gotham
right?
City. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand that pick. That's a good pick, man. I
Yeah.
should probably get into him, but I was really rubbed the wrong way when I saw the first Daredevil movie. I was just
Oh my God, yeah.
I know I shouldn't associate the movie with the comics and stuff like that, but I just never was like a fan of it once I seen that movie.
But at the same time, it gave you more exposure to that Evanescence song. Wake me up.
Wake me up inside. Wake me up inside.
Let's Jennifer Gardner's hot as Electra.
Yeah, she does look good. Isn't that Farrell guy in there too? Colin Farrell
Yeah,
or
Colin
something?
Farrell's bullseye. He's just an Irish. He's Irish and he's got a fucking bullseye scar on the middle of his head. So
Oh my
fucking stupid.
god.
They kind of fuck. They fuck bullseye up in the show too,
Oh, did they?
because they think he never wears a bullseye costume. I don't think he just ends up
Oh, he probably wearing a suit or something.
he steals the Daredevil suit. I'm pretty sure that's what
Yeah.
happened.
All
Yeah,
right, you want to jump to number one?
yeah, yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
you want me to recap?
Yeah, yeah. Do a little
So
recap.
number 10 comes Kid Colt and his trusty
Great pick.
horse Steel. Number 9, Mr. Sinister.
Nice
Number
pick.
8, Nova. Number 7, Cable. Number 6, the handsome and lucky Longshot. Number 5, the badass War Machine. Number 4, the Canadian Wolverine. Number 3, everyone's first superhero love, Spider Man. Number 2, the leader of the X Men, Cyclops. And number 1, he's always been my favorite. He's always my number one choice when I play Marvel vs. Capcom, even when I was younger. Um, and I'm talking about Steve Rogers, Captain America. From 1941, he's been in 11,736 episodes. We're talking about a guy that it's crazy when we talk about comics that was not in the war, but was actually help fighting the war, helping soldiers, stay, mental. They used to send these comics out to soldiers. The
Yeah,
Captain America comic. Like we're talking about a real. hero somehow incorporated that this guy was actually fighting Nazis along with the Allies. Steve Rogers is a skinny, uncoordinated guy. He attempts to enlist in the U.S. Army, um, but is rejected, and he is chosen for a subject to take the experimental super soldier serum, and he becomes Captain America. Man, just this unbelievable soldier. Um, Tell me a little bit about Captain America. What you know about him? Because I know we're big fans of Captain America. I know he didn't make your list because I know you're number one, but man, I love
Yeah,
Captain America. I love the again. I love the outfit. I love the storyline of a kid that just wants to. When we were in high school, we start to get into the war and start to appreciate um the efforts and that stuff like that. And just for a character like that, Steve Rogers to want to join the army and he just can't because he can't pass the physical requirements, and then to take the super serum to become you know arguably one of the best Marvel characters of all time, and he's equipped with this unbreakable shield. Just such a cool character, man. I wonder, like, who would win in a fight, Captain Trinidad or Captain America? Man, that's the
well,
fight.
let's be honest. Captain Trinidad's going to be Captain America in a fight.
But yeah, it's the story of Steve Rogers, man, coming out in 1941, and propaganda.
Yeah,
He was,
absolutely.
he was also fighting the war in the minds of children and
Mhm.
in the minds of army soldiers actually on the battlefield when they would ship out comic books of Captain America. He was beating up Nazis. He was after Red Skull. It's an unbelievable story of Steve Rogers, man.
Yeah, obviously a character that predates the Marvel comics, and they revamped the character. They thawed him out of ice, basically in the comics. Is what they did to bring his character back from the war, and
Yeah, and then he ends up being the leader of the X-Men. I mean,
yeah,
the Avengers.
and
So
fighting for his for the the American way of life, basically.
yeah,
Even if that means in direct opposition to the American government occasionally.
yeah. So he's a true American hero. Man, I've just always loved Captain America, and it stems from my brother. Again, a lot of these picks, Cyclops, Wolverine, Captain America, these guys that were in Marvel vs. Capcom. I mean, just seeing my brother playing it when I was younger, and just seeing all these superheroes for the first time, and going, man, that guy's amazing. And I used to pick my team. It used to be Wolverine, Captain America, and War Machine. Like,
Yeah.
just a lot of these stem from a lot of our stuff is nostalgia. So, Captain America, man, he was lost in some time, and then when the movies came back, they brought him back to the forefront. And I think Captain America is going to be one of the most idolized superheroes ever of all time. Man.
Yeah, I'd always love to see. I always wanted to see like an older depiction of Captain America in a movie. Like I'd love to see like a more like middle age, older, grittier, gray scruff or something kind of
Yeah,
Captain America in the movie instead of like young clean cut Chris Evans.
yeah, but what a story, man! Just the epic beginnings of Captain America. While the war's actually going on, they bring this comic out in 1941, and it's
Punching
just
Hitler out on the cover.
yeah, it's unbelievable, man. Just we talk about even when Joe Louis during that boxing fight, imagine if he loses, the morale of a lot of Americans shoot
Yeah,
down, you know what I mean? So sometimes the biggest wars are fought in the ways we don't see. And not saying Captain America won the war or nothing in real life, but to give people hope is it goes a long way.
yeah, yeah. It's true. And yeah, I don't see any German superheroes that lasted after the war.
No.
I wonder if they had any.
Well, yeah, so Dan, break down your top 10 and your number one, which I know what it is, man. I think I know what it is.
Oh, you know what it is. Yeah, you know what it is. Okay, my number 10, recapping, number 10 was the Daywalker Blade. Number 9, Captain of Alpha Flight, Guardian. Number 8, the Mighty Thor. Number 7, Galactus. Number 6, Magneto. Number 5, Victor Von Doom. Number 4, I've got Wolverine, Weapon X himself. Number 3, I have the Amazing Spider-Man. And at number 2, I had the Man Without Fear, Daredevil.
Yep.
And at number 1, oh, where's my little visual here? Number 1, I have my favorite Marvel character of all time, the Spirit of Vengeance, Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. I knew it was Ghost Rider, but tell me a little
Yeah,
bit of why you love Ghost Rider, because I know you explained it a little bit when you picked your a little bit when we did our episode when we did our top 10. I mean, our top 5 fantasy
yeah.
matchup. So tell us a little bit about Ghost Rider to end this podcast, my friend.
Well, Ghost Rider, I always just loved the concept of the character, the
Yeah.
idea of this guy basically sells his soul to the devil. So the idea is, his is dying, and his father's life is saved by Johnny Blaze selling his soul to Mephisto, and
Yeah.
he basically in doing so, he becomes the Ghost Rider, who is a servant of Mephisto, essentially. He ends up defying Mephisto, and then he ends up battling Mephisto for years to come. And
Yeah.
whether it's in the domain of Earth or in Mephisto's realm, which is essentially hell.
Yeah.
Like, I think at times they do use hell as his domain's name, but yeah, I mean the character originates in the cowboy comics of like I think the 40s, and then he was revamped by Roy Thomas in Marvel as like what we know now as Ghost Rider. Originally, it was the Ghost Rider was literally like a white ghost guy on a horse,
Yeah.
and then it was obviously modernized the flaming skull image on the motorcycle. There's been a lot of different Ghost Riders through the years. The original one, Johnny Blaze, and into the 90s. The one I enjoy a lot of is Danny Ketch, just because that was the Ghost Rider of the 90s. He had more like the
Yeah.
street bike looking thing. Um, and he also activates his powers differently. He has the whole thing on his bike where he puts his hand on like the medallion thing on his bike and he can turn into the Ghost Rider. And then a lot of newer fans know the modern Robbie Reyes is the Ghost Rider. He's the one that drives the muscle car.
Yeah.
And yeah, every depiction of Ghost Rider I find really interesting. He's a character, he's super powerful. So a lot of the time, it's him battling inner demon or an inner struggle or a
Yeah.
battle within himself a lot of the time. Um, the modern runs of Ghost Rider are really good if anyone's looking to get into like a very like a lot of horror and a lot of like gruesome imagery in modern
Comic.
Ghost Rider comics. And yeah, they just do a really good job of storytelling in them, and it's a badass character too. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
whether you're looking at the modern comics where it's a lot more like horror, mystery, thriller, or you go back to the '90s, the Danny Ketch ones and the Midnight Suns stories, where it's very like action, big guns, fucking fire, explosions, and just wild action, right? I go through pull up that Midnight Suns book again, and it's just everything I fucking love about '90s comics just turned up to a million in some of these Ghost Riders ones.
Yeah,
Like,
but look at the
I got
vibrant colors, the blues,
yeah, there's
oh man, the purples.
Venom fighting Ghost Rider, like,
It's
and
beautiful.
specifically the run in the '90s where you have Danny Ketch as Ghost Rider and you have Johnny Blaze as just himself alongside the rider. It's just like the two of them together, just so it's such a dynamic duo. I gotta find the fucking image. Where is it? God damn it!
Should have bookmarked it, bitch.
I know I should have. But yeah, I'll give you one image. There's one image of them together. Just the two of them together,
Yeah,
Blaze
like
and the
look how
rider.
badass that is. That's badass. But
And
it's funny.
in
Yeah, sorry,
modern years, there's been other runs like I don't know. Have you seen Cosmic Ghost Rider?
no, I don't think so.
Cosmic Ghost
Sounds
Rider
cool.
is the Punisher in an alternate universe where he's
Oh, really? That's
yeah.
cool.
Oh my god, just insane! It's crazy action, violence, and comedy.
Like even when you're talking about the original Ghost Rider when he was in the white mask, it kind of threw me back to the original Taskmaster. Like
Oh, the mascot, yeah.
I don't know if you remember what he looked like, sort of like that. But again, the appeal of Ghost Rider. Um, we're talking about like when we talk about appeal, we talk about Doctor Doom looking badass. I would take it back. There's no one more badass looking than Ghost Rider.
He's a flaming skull guy on a motorcycle.
Yeah, and he's got a chain hanging down and shit. And
Yeah. He would be our buddy David's favorite
David, I was
superhero,
just gonna
probably.
say that. Oh, you read my mind. I was just gonna say that would be David as a
Actually, that's
superhero.
not true because David's a Wolverine guy still.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But Dan, anything else you want to say about Ghost Rider?
Yeah, honestly, like you can enjoy any era of these comics if you're a fan. If you're a
Yep.
fan too, give that shitty Nicolas Cage movie a try. It's not a good movie. The bad guys are fucking horrible. But if you like Ghost Rider, you'll probably enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, like who who wins? Just a fantasy matchup: Spawn or Ghost Rider?
Oof.
Maybe we should put that as a poll.
Yeah, that's really tough. I don't know. I feel like not familiar enough with Spawn's mortality to be able to make a call on it. I
Yeah,
almost want to say Spawn, but I feel wrong saying that.
yeah, it's a tough one. That's a tough matchup. That would be cool to see both of them in a comic book series, like a 12-part comic book series, Ghost Rider versus Spawn.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
would
Ghost
be
Rider, I mean, he's a character is super powerful. I mean, God, I remember as a kid, one of my first exposures to him was watching the old Fantastic Four cartoon. And
yeah,
and there's an episode of Galactus, and Ghost Rider shows up and fucks Galactus up in about 5 seconds.
yeah. Like some of them are overpowered. A lot of the X-Men too are well overpowered, man.
Yeah, yeah.
But for anyone out there, please, if you watched this and enjoyed it, man, please put your top 10 at the bottom. We would love to see it. Obviously we had some picks that a lot of people wouldn't have on their list or whatever, but it all what appeals to you, whether it's the in-depth story, the visual appeal, or simply you just like the character because you just like the character. It doesn't really matter, right? So please put your top 10 down below. And Dan, I think we're coming back next Friday again, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, we're thinking what top 10 beat 'em ups, right?
Yeah, we're thinking top 10 beat 'em ups. And then on a side note, we're going to start another project here, and it's going to be Dan and Chris React, where we're going to react to artists and songs we haven't heard before.
Yeah,
So
first listens.
yeah, so hopefully we'll get one of those done soon, or a couple of them done as soon as possible, and we'll definitely put those up. But from now on, we're going to try to get on every Friday morning live for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to keep things a little bit more regular. Try not to go 2 months without an episode again.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I think it was a banger to start the year. We didn't go fully in depth in a lot of the comic book storylines because it's just so hard to do that, man. There's so many variations,
We
but
don't want to
hopefully,
expose ourselves as casuals.
yeah, mostly casuals for sure. But hopefully you guys enjoyed our list, man, and we would love to see your guys' list. So please feel free to comment below. So Dan, send the people home.
Yeah. Well, until next time, guys, that's the Boys Podcast signing off. Excelsior.
Later, guys. Hopefully it won't take 2 months.
Yeah. See you 2 months.